So, you think you know Dracula? The name alone conjures up images of moonlit castles, swirling mists, and a figure in a flowing cape, eyes glinting with a hypnotic power. But how much do we really know about the world's most famous vampire? Is he just a monster from old movies, or is there something deeper lurking in the shadows of his legend? The name alone sends a shiver down your spine. It's a word that's become shorthand for fear, for the unknown, for the things that go bump in the night. Dracula isn't just a character, he's a cultural icon, a symbol of our darkest nightmares and our secret fascinations. He's the OG vampire, charming yet terrifying, with a penchant for necks. He's the one who started it all, the reason we think of vampires as suave, seductive, and deadly. Before Dracula, vampires were little more than rotting corpses in folklore, but this count changed everything. Hollywood loves him, and why not? He's the ultimate predator. From the silent era to modern blockbusters, Dracula has been reimagined countless times, each version adding new layers to his myth. He's been a monster, a lover, a tragic hero, and even a punchline. But he's never been forgotten. A nobleman with a dark secret, he controls the weather and mesmerizes with a glance. He's the embodiment of old-world elegance mixed with supernatural terror. His castle looms over the Carpathian landscape, a fortress of fear and fascination. He's not just a monster, he's a master of manipulation, a creature who can bend the will of others with nothing but a look. But where did this story come from? Bram Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula. Stoker, an Irish writer with a flair for the dramatic, poured his fears and obsessions into the pages of his book, creating a villain who was both ancient and modern, both monstrous and magnetic. Stoker didn't invent vampires, but he gave them a new face, and a new set of rules. He researched old legends, scoured newspaper articles, and wove together a story that felt both timeless and shockingly new. His Dracula was a creature of the night, but also a product of his time, a reflection of Victorian anxieties about science, sexuality, and the unknown. Stoker transformed the vampire from a mindless corpse to the cunning count from Transylvania. He gave him a backstory, a personality, and a purpose. Suddenly, the vampire wasn't just a monster to be feared, it was a character to be studied, even pitied. He mixed old superstitions with Victorian fears, creating a bestseller. The novel tapped into the anxieties of its age, fear of the foreign, fear of disease, fear of the unknown. It was a perfect storm of horror and intrigue, and readers couldn't get enough. Dracula became a global phenomenon, from movies to breakfast cereals. He's inspired everything from Halloween costumes to breakfast cereals, from comic books to video games. The Count's shadow stretches across pop culture, and his story is retold again and again, each time finding new ways to haunt our dreams. But here's the kicker. This myth is loosely based on a real person. Behind the fangs and the cape lies a true story, one rooted in blood and history. The real Dracula was a prince, a warrior, and a man whose reputation for cruelty became the stuff of legend. A guy who was, in some ways, even more terrifying than the vampire he inspired. His deeds were so brutal, so shocking, that they echoed across centuries, inspiring fear long before Stoker ever put pen to paper. And his story? Well, it's a dirty job, but someone's gotta tell it. So buckle up, because the truth behind the legend is even stranger and scarier than fiction. Meet the man behind the myth, Vlad III, a 15th century prince of Wallachia, whose name would echo through history as both a national hero and a figure of terror. His story is one of blood, betrayal, and a relentless struggle for power in a land caught between empires. Born into the powerful house of Draculesti, Vlad was the son of Vlad II Dracul, a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order sworn to defend Christendom against the Ottoman Turks. The name Dracul means the dragon, and it was a title that carried both prestige and danger in a time when alliances shifted as quickly as the wind. Vlad inherited the name Dracula, meaning son of the dragon. Unlike the vampire legends that would later surround his name, the real Vlad had no fangs or supernatural powers, just a fierce determination and a legacy to uphold. His reputation was forged not in the shadows, but on the battlefield and in the courts of power. As a young boy, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were sent as political hostages to the court of the Ottoman Sultan. This was a common practice among noble families to ensure loyalty, but for Vlad it was a harsh education in survival. He witnessed the intrigues and dangers of the Ottoman court, learning firsthand the value of cunning, resilience, and above all, ruthlessness. Tragedy struck when Vlad's father and elder brother were assassinated by rival factions back home. With his family torn apart and his homeland in chaos, Vlad returned to Wallachia determined to reclaim his birthright. He fought bitterly for the throne, facing betrayal at every turn, but his resolve never wavered. Vlad ruled Wallachia on 3 separate occasions, each time battling powerful enemies, both foreign and domestic. The Ottoman Empire pressed from the south, while Hungarian and local rivals schemed from within. Through cunning diplomacy and brutal warfare, Vlad fought to preserve Wallachia's independence, refusing to bow to any overlord. He became infamous for his use of psychological warfare. Vlad's preferred method of punishment, impalement, was designed to strike terror into the hearts of his enemies. Tales of his cruelty spread far and wide, making him a figure both feared and respected. To his own people, Vlad was a strict and often merciless ruler, but he was also seen as a defender of justice. He imposed harsh laws to root out corruption and crime, earning a reputation for fairness among those who obeyed his rule and for savagery among those who defied him. By cultivating an image of unyielding cruelty, Vlad ensured that his enemies would think twice before challenging him. His legacy is a complex tapestry of heroism and horror, a testament to the brutal realities of medieval power and the enduring legend of Vlad the Impaler. To truly understand Vlad the Impaler, you must first immerse yourself in the world he inhabited, a world shaped by danger, suspicion, and the constant threat of invasion. Life in 15th century Wallachia was not for the faint of heart. It was a time when survival depended on strength, cunning, and the ability to navigate a landscape riddled with enemies both within and beyond its borders. Wallachia was a frontier land, caught between the ambitions of Christian Europe to the west and the ever-expanding Ottoman Empire to the east. Its position made it a crossroads of cultures, religions, and armies, a place where allegiances shifted as quickly as the winds that swept across the Carpathian Mountains. The region was a buffer zone, a battleground and a prize for those who sought power. Wallachia was a place of near-constant turmoil, with shifting alliances and threats lurking at every turn. Armies marched through its valleys, villages were burned in raids, and the people lived in a state of perpetual uncertainty. Nobles and knights gathered in tense councils, never sure who would betray whom next. The land itself was wild and unforgiving. Dense forests and rugged hills provided perfect cover for ambushes and guerrilla warfare. The ruling class, known as the boyars, were powerful and often treacherous, plotting in shadowy chambers by candlelight, always seeking to advance their own interests, even at the expense of their country. Vlad ruled with an iron fist, fully aware that he could trust almost no one, not even those closest to him. His authority was constantly challenged by ambitious nobles and foreign powers, forcing him to be ruthless and decisive. He believed that only through fear and unwavering control could he maintain order and protect his realm. For the common people, daily life was a relentless grind. Most were peasants, toiling from dawn to dusk in the fields, their lives defined by hard labor, poverty, and the ever-present fear of war or bandit raids. The marketplace was a rare respite, a place to trade goods and news, but even there the shadow of conflict loomed. Some Wallachians, weary of chaos and violence, supported Vlad's brutal methods. They saw his harsh rule as a necessary evil, a way to impose order and stability in a world that seemed to teeter on the edge of anarchy. For them, the promise of safety outweighed the cost of cruelty. Vlad's ultimate goal was to build a strong, unified state, one where the power of disloyal nobles was broken and the authority of the ruler was absolute. He demanded loyalty and obedience, punishing betrayal with swift and often terrifying consequences. His methods were extreme and his punishments legendary, but in the brutal context of his time, many saw them as necessary evils. In a land where survival was never guaranteed, Vlad's iron rule offered a grim kind of security, one that would echo through history for centuries to come. How did Vlad become known as the Impaler, his preferred execution method impalement? A gruesome spectacle, it sent a clear message: do not cross me. Vlad didn't invent impalement, but he perfected it as psychological terror. He used it on a massive scale, even against his own kingdom's corrupt nobles. Vlad saw this as justice, not random cruelty, obsessed with order. Stories tell of him punishing thieves harshly, instilling fear to maintain control. While tales of his cruelty were exaggerated, Vlad earned his name through unimaginable brutality. Bram Stoker borrowed the name Dracula, but the similarities end there. Stoker's Dracula is a vampire from Transylvania. Vlad was a prince from Wallachia. The Count is an undead predator. Vlad was a mortal ruler with political ambition. Stoker borrowed Vlad's reputation for ferocity, creating a character with historical depth. Both were cunning noblemen from a war-torn Europe fighting the Ottomans. Stoker's Dracula is a horror icon. Vlad was a complex medieval ruler. The man was a warrior. The myth is a monster, blurring history and fiction. Let's clear up misconceptions. Vlad the Impaler was not a vampire. The blood-drinking story was a later invention, likely by his enemies. Dracula's castle isn't really his. Bran Castle is more marketing than history. Vlad's real base was Poenari Citadel in Wallachia. The name Dracula means son of the dragon, later interpreted as son of the devil. Vlad's death is a mystery, likely killed in battle against the Ottomans. His head was reportedly sent to the Sultan as proof of his death. Why are we still talking about Vlad? The Dracula legend has staying power. Stoker's Dracula became a symbol of our deepest fears, reshaped by each generation. From Bela Lugosi's charm to Christopher Lee's monstrous presence, Dracula evolves. In Romania, Vlad is a national hero, a defender against invaders. The legend taps into primal fears with a tantalizing anchor in reality. The line between man and myth blurs, creating a cultural icon. A story that never dies, returning night after night for another bite.